9 NFC teams above 500 right now. Bears, one of those 9 at the top of the NFC North. One game behind the Eagles and Rams, who are 8-2 in the conference. Welcome back here to CST. Lou Cadellis with you. All right, let's bring in Danny Parkins from First Things First on Fox Sports 1. Danny, are your buddies Nick Wright, Chris Broussard, Kevin Wildes, are they buying into the Bears just yet?
I'm not sure. No is the short answer, I think, on some of them. But who cares? Who cares? This is becoming a little stupid. Like, this is becoming a little silly. Like, J.J. McCarthy was so bad, and now the Bears might get Mason Rudolph. I'm sure we'll get into it. But just sometimes these things happen. Sometimes you just get a charmed season. The Bears are the number 2 team in the NFL this year in one-score games, right behind the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Like, I don't think this team is great, but this team is in first place in 7-3. So who cares who believes? Who cares if it's pretty? They're 7-3, and it's really fun.
Danny, I am with you 100%, and I've thought about this long and hard. Sometimes a team is just blessed. And you just heard me say that the Bears have the number 3 seed right now in the NFC. If they get healthy for that Eagles game on Black Friday, and I'm thinking maybe T.J. Edwards is back, maybe Kyler Gordon is back. Not sure Jalen Johnson will be ready just yet, but we're in that 21-day window. Can the Bears take a run at the number 1 seed?
I mean, it seems unfathomable, to be honest with you, because I think they easily could have lost to Minnesota. So the NFL is such a any given Sunday league. How does the ball bounce your way? It's not who you play, but when you play them. So, I mean, I guess crazier things have happened, right? Like the Minnesota Vikings were on the verge of being the 1 seed in week 18 last year, and then they lost out. The Washington Commanders were in the NFC Championship game last year, and they're 3-8 right now. As we sit here today, Lou, the Ravens, Lions, and Chiefs would all miss the playoffs if it started today. Nobody had that before the year. So I guess crazier things have happened, but I don't think they're going to be the 1 seed when this is all said and done, but who the hell knows?
Yeah, who the hell knows is right. All right, 5 fourth-quarter comebacks for a Bears team that's won 7 of 8 games. Do you think internally, and I know we're taking a guess here because neither you nor I know many of these coaches that work for the Bears at Hallis Hall, but do you think internally the coaches, man, are thinking, oh, we're lucky. The comebacks at some point are going to stop?
Yes, I do. I think that Ben Johnson, from all that we do know about him, and I think he even lets us in a little bit in the press conferences, when he talks about, it wasn't pretty, but you don't have to apologize for wins in this league, that sort of thing. We're going to coach hard off this tape. It's one of the oldest cliches in NFL coaching, right? You can coach harder off an ugly win because it's okay, you won, you get to celebrate it, but look, this could have cost us, that could have cost us, this could have cost us. So I think they know that they are not as good as their record indicates, but that's okay. That would not be okay in year 3 or 4 of Caleb Williams, in years 3 or 4 of Ben Johnson. But in year 2 of Caleb, year 1 of Ben Johnson, I think it's okay right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. You tweeted, and Danny's a great follow during the game, Bears fans, if you want to follow Danny Parkins. You tweeted after the game, I really can't believe Ben Johnson was comfortable with Cairo from that game-winning distance. And I didn't understand that at all, but it worked. All right, I want you to take me back to the Bears' final series after the Duvernay kick return. What do you think Ben Johnson should have done? Because I'm here to tell you that I agreed with the tweet, but first tell me what you thought Ben should have done.
So, there's a lot of factors there, and obviously Ben Johnson is considering more factors than you and I are privy to. But the Cairo Santos miss from closer, the last kick that we had seen him take, is in my head, right? The misses that he had against Cincinnati is in my head. The misses he had against Minnesota, the first game of the year, are in my head. Cairo, I know the numbers say he's one of the most reliable kickers in Bears history, but it doesn't, I don't have that feeling with him. And Caleb has been so clutch that I did not like just conservative runs and saying, okay, we're in field goal range of a 50-yard field goal or a 48-yard field goal. Let's just run it into the line of scrimmage. Like, I was more interested in like some degree of aggression, putting it in your quarterback's right shoulder, putting it with his mobility and saying like, hey, throw it away for an incompletion if there's nothing there. Scramble if you need to, but if there's an easy layup completion, try to get 8, 10, 12 more yards. Obviously, the swift run ended up helping things, but you don't know that when you call the play. I just thought it was a little too conservative for my liking. And then, having said that, it wasn't a dome, and Cairo did have plenty of leg to make it. So it wasn't at Soldier Field, so the dome obviously factored into the equation, but just gut check from how I felt about sending Cairo out there and getting conservative in that moment. I would have rather trusted Caleb to gain for one more significant gain play before just kind of going into the conservative offense for the kick.
Yeah, as I said, I was with you on that, and I wanted him to throw the football once. Johnson running the football 3 straight times. Do you get the feeling that was more about maybe the head coach not feeling great about Caleb Williams and the way he had played in that game?
I don't. I personally, and again, I can't read his mind. I think it was, they said, Cairo said that he made a 61-yarder pregame. So I think when you look around the NFL sometimes, like if you drop back to pass, more things can happen. More likely to get a holding penalty on a pass play than a run play. Obviously, you can take a sack on a pass play. You could throw an interception. Like more bad things can happen on pass plays than on run plays, right? Like the worst case scenario usually on a straight halfback dive is you're going to get tackled for a 1 or a 2 yard loss. Like that's usually the worst case scenario. So I think a lot of coaches would play it that way. I just was not, A, because it's another learning opportunity for Caleb, and B, I was just not as comfortable with Cairo as Ben Johnson and Richard Hightower clearly were. To me, it was more about Cairo than it was about Caleb, but they clearly looked at it as he's got the leg from this distance. We are going to just take negative plays out of the equation as opposed to making the probability of the make higher. And my calculus would have been the other way.
All right, I've done a lot of reading this morning, listened to a lot of sports talk out there, watched some as well. And I was alarmed with this. Bears averaged 4.4 yards a play in that football game. Not very good. Here's the reality. Caleb doesn't play on time. For the most part, he's out there playing street ball, off-schedule ball. I know he's winning games, and we're all obviously ecstatic about that. But is it sustainable? Is the way he is playing sustainable for this team to continue to win games? And is this what Ben Johnson wants from his quarterback?
Well, no. I think Ben Johnson wants him to have the ability to do this. I mean, he joked about it last week, right? He feels like sometimes he makes me feel like I'm the greatest coach in the world because of his Houdini act and his escape act. And so there's a cool chart that's going around where it shows every quarterback's average time to throw and their knockdown rate, how often they get hit and they get knocked down. And Caleb is in the extreme top left corner of average time to throw, meaning he's holding it longer than anybody, but he's at the extreme left side of the equation in terms of getting knocked down the least. You would think the longer you hold it, the more you're going to get knocked down.
For
so
sure.
He's an outlier in both directions right now. He's got eyes in the back of his head, man. Like he's always going to hold the ball longer than most. I thought he was always going to be sacked more than most because he's such a big game hunter. And so is this sustainable? Those extremes are probably not, but I do think that Caleb is going to have that be a part of his game for forever. And it's going to lead to a couple of "what are you doing" moments, but it's also going to lead to a lot of no, yes, I can't believe it. Like he's got that range to him, which is going to make him one of the more exciting players in the league.
He can get away with it. And I'm not here to stir the pot, but
oh, you're fine.
Hear me out in this 2-part question, okay? Hang with me. Do you think Williams is buying into Ben Johnson's coaching? And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm not in any way saying that they're not on the same page, they're not getting along. I believe 100% they're getting along, but sometimes I feel like Caleb says to himself, hey, man, I'm not that type of quarterback. I will try, but I can always use my God-given talent to escape tackles, avoid pressure, and take off, maybe throw it out of bounds. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that, trying to train a racehorse, right, is tricky because he's been doing one thing for his entire life. And my analogy is going to fall apart here, but like it's trying to get, it's like Caleb is what he is, and Ben Johnson is what he is. But I don't think that Ben Johnson wants Caleb Williams to be Jared Goff. Like, I think that Ben Johnson is comfortable with Caleb being what he is. It's just going to take some time. But I don't think it's like he is rejecting the coaching. Because I think Caleb has gotten better at hitting the check down over the course of this year. And I do think there are times when you see him play on schedule. It's just he's in a little bit of a zone right now. Like he's feeling himself. Like he's buying into the Iceman thing. That like, I can get this done. It's not always going to be pretty. And again, you and I are aligned. Like, this is not a sustainable brand of football for 10 years, but it's been 10 games. And so I think that as long as it continues to move in the right direction, it's okay. And it's an interesting question that you pose, but I don't get the sense that it is like anywhere near a crisis right now. And yes, winning is masking some things. But listen, the Bears have a lot of issues still, as I kind of meander through your two-part question. Like, if J.J. McCarthy was merely below average, they lose that game. If Jackson Dart doesn't get a concussion the week before, they lose that game. Like, the Bears should not be 7-3. And if they weren't, we'd be focusing a lot more on the types of things that you're driving at here with those questions, right? So I think two things can exist on at the same time when it comes to the Bears.
All right, you nailed it there. Thank you. Can I? I
don't know if I did. I don't know if I did. It was an interesting question, though.
You actually did, and I appreciate that because what you said there at the end is exactly where I was going with this. Winning masks maybe some of what's going on that doesn't jive with what Ben Johnson wants. I want to give out 2 more game balls if you're okay with it, because I know you own the cabinet with all the game balls.
Yeah, of course.
All right. I need to give one to the guys up front. Man, those 5 guys up front, that offensive line, it's been stellar. When you look at what Brian Flores was doing, and you realize that this guy was blitzing, 70, 80% of the time yesterday. Bears still were able to run the football 39 times, over 100 yards. Swift had 90 himself. Caleb was sacked twice. All on one series. I just think that the offensive line, sometimes we overlook the play of those guys up front. And the other game ball I want to give to is the tight ends, because all 3 guys, Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland, Durham Smythe, 9 catches, 12 targets. Man, that's pretty darn good, and that's typically what you're supposed to do when you've got a defense throwing the kitchen house at you all afternoon, right? Look for that tight end.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I like both of those. I thought Wright, the cornerback, getting the interception after the tragedy in his personal life. I thought that was one of the more powerful stories, probably the most powerful story, obviously, that came out of the game. So I would like to give him another game ball as well. The offensive line is a nice feather in the cap right now for Ryan Poles because Darnell Wright is playing great. I was an advocate of drafting Jalen Carter. I still think Jalen Carter is a special player as an interior disruptor on the defensive line. They traded down and they took Darnell Wright. Well, Darnell Wright is looking like he's going to go to a lot of Pro Bowls, just like it looks like Jalen Carter is going to go to a lot of Pro Bowls. And then, Joe Thuney, I think if you have the opportunity to get him, that's not a terribly creative signing because of how just much of a known commodity he is from the Patriots and the Chiefs. But I think Jonah Jackson's been pretty good as well. The last couple of weeks, especially in the run game. So I think that, the offensive line is a feather in the cap for Ryan Poles. And then Colston Loveland, they've taken a lot of heat for taking him over Tyler Warren, and because Tyler Warren is having a ridiculous statistical season. Loveland had the injury. He wasn't as involved early. But he's further down behind DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. Warren is a little bit more of a primary target with him and Pittman in Indianapolis. Loveland's got some juice. I've been very impressed with his yards after the catch ability. I think he's going to be a big playmaker for this team for years to come.
All right, you're lucky you're in New York, because I still hear from all the naysayers in this town they've been scarred by the Bears their entire life. And they tell me it's always, yeah, but. And I get it. So I want to address it as you give me the Parkins playoff meter to wrap this conversation up. Bears are 7-3, first time since 2018. You're an honest man. They were 7-3. I look back. They were 7-3 to begin the 2011 season as well, Danny, and they missed the playoffs. Jay Cutler suffered a broken bone. Caleb Haney didn't do the job that year. They lost 5 in a row, so they missed the playoffs. And I get it. Listen, it's a different narrative if Caleb Williams isn't out there. Where are the Bears on the Parkins playoff meter today?
Yeah, I think they're going to make it now. I think this is the first time I'd say it's better than 50-50. I'd say 60-40 yes, 65-35 yes, somewhere in there. The difference between 2011 is that 7 teams make it. And
Great
so
point. Great point.
It's easier to make it now, and so if you get to 10, you're probably in. And you hired a coach from the NFC North. We've talked about this before. The Bears could have beaten Green Bay both times last year. They ended up getting them the once. They could have won that game against the Lions on Thanksgiving. They could have beat the Vikings last year in that overtime game. So they still have the Packers twice. They still have the Lions once. They've got the Niners. They've got teams that are in that playoff mix. We'll see what happens with Rodgers' injury this upcoming week. I'm hoping that they play Aaron Rodgers because of how much Caleb has said that he looked up to him and modeled his game after him. I think it'd be really cool, given how much Rodgers has owned the Bears over his career, to kind of send him out with a loss against Chicago and to give Caleb that personal moment of playing against one of his football heroes. So I hope Rodgers plays, even though that makes it tougher than Mason Rudolph. But, yeah, I think as we sit here today, the Bears are going to be in the playoffs.
All right, Danny, as always, thanks for jumping on. We'll talk to you again next week.
Good stuff, Lou. Anytime, man.
From Fox 32 Chicago Sports, this is Chicago Sports Tonight.